Good morning, listeners of Hot Topic and Fresh News. Today, the 2nd of July, 2024, bringing you the latest and most pressing news. A major development in Israel as the Supreme Court rules against long-standing exemptions for the Haredi, or Ultra-Orthodox Jewish community, from military service. This landmark decision mandates that young Haredi men must be conscripted into the Israeli military. This shift comes amidst tensions as the Israeli army faces operational strains following its longest-ever war in Gaza and mounting pressures on the northern front with Hezbollah. The Haredi community, making up 12.9% of the population, has long been exempt, supporting the government in exchange for draft exemptions and funding for their religious studies. This ruling sparks a significant outcry within the community, with fears that conscription could dilute their religious commitments. Meanwhile, the military is encouraged to make strategic accommodations to integrate this group, including the suggestion of forming a new Haredi brigade. As this situation unfolds, it's clear that change is on the horizon, driven by internal pressures and the growing need for manpower in the Israeli Defense Forces. Stay tuned as we continue to follow this developing story. Good morning and welcome to Hot Topic and Fresh News. This is your host, Emily Norma.
And this is David, at your service.
We're here every day to bring you the most crucial updates. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay informed. Straight to the hot topics.
Can you explain the significance of the Supreme Court's decision on conscription for the Ultra-Orthodox community?
Absolutely. The Supreme Court's ruling ends a long-standing exemption that allowed ultra-Orthodox men to avoid military service to focus on religious studies. This decision is monumental because it not only challenges a religious tradition but also ignites a debate on national duty in Israel.
How has the Haredi community reacted to these changes?
They've responded with significant protests, particularly in areas like Mea Shearim in Jerusalem, which is a stronghold for the ultra-Orthodox. These demonstrations are a vivid display of their anger and fear that conscription could disrupt their devout lifestyle.
What are their main concerns about joining the military?
The primary concern is that military service could secularize their community. They fear that exposure to diverse lifestyles and the secular environment of the military might dilute their stringent religious observance.
Is there any indication that the military actually needs these conscripts from a strategic standpoint?
Interestingly, some within the military and political spheres argue that the draft isn't about needing more soldiers but rather about social cohesion and fairness. There's a perception that everyone should contribute to the defense of the state, regardless of their religious practices.
With such a significant portion of the population involved, how might this affect Israeli politics?
It's a critical juncture. The ultra-Orthodox have been pivotal in forming government coalitions, often securing benefits for their community in return for their support. This ruling could reshape their political leverage and potentially alter the landscape of Israeli politics.
And what about the timing of this ruling? Why now?
This comes at a particularly sensitive time for Israel, following its longest war in Gaza and amid rising tensions with Hezbollah. The government and the military are likely looking to bolster national unity and resilience by integrating all segments of society into the defense forces.
What might we expect moving forward?
We're likely to see ongoing negotiations and possibly more tailored approaches to integrating the ultra-Orthodox into military life, with an aim to reduce friction while respecting their unique lifestyle. As this unfolds, it will be crucial to monitor both the community's response and the broader societal impact.
Could you delve into the public sentiment regarding the military conscription of the Ultra-Orthodox as highlighted by the Israel Democracy Institute survey?
Sure. The survey revealed that 70% of Israeli Jews support ending the blanket exemptions for the Ultra-Orthodox. This indicates a strong public desire for more equity in military duties, reflecting broader societal concerns about fairness and national responsibility.
Mor Shamgar expressed significant frustration at a national security conference. What does this tell us about the mood among those already serving or connected to the military?
Mor Shamgar's comments vocalize a wider frustration felt by many Israelis. The perception that the government prioritizes political survival over equitable national service requirements has aggravated many, especially those whose family members are serving long stints in the military.
There's mention of a specific battalion, Netze Yehuda, tailored to the ultra-Orthodox. How significant is this development?
Netze Yehuda represents a critical compromise, offering a model where the ultra-Orthodox can serve while still adhering to their religious practices. It addresses key barriers such as gender segregation and dietary laws, making military service more palatable for the Haredi community.
Rabbi Yehoshua Pfeffer suggests further integration efforts. What might these look like?
Rabbi Pfeffer is advocating for an expansion of the Netze Yehuda model to possibly include more battalions or even a brigade. This would entail not just accommodating religious practices but also actively working to enhance the relationship between the military and the ultra-Orthodox, potentially creating a more inclusive and cohesive national defense force.
What are the potential repercussions if the ultra-Orthodox parties had decided to leave the governing coalition over this issue?
If the ultra-Orthodox parties had left the coalition, it could have led to a significant political shakeup, potentially destabilizing the current government. Such a move would underline the critical leverage these parties hold in Israeli politics, especially at a time when national unity is under strain from various challenges.
Looking forward, how might these tensions and negotiations evolve?
Moving forward, we can expect continued dialogues and possibly tense negotiations. The challenge will be to find a middle ground that respects the religious convictions of the Haredi community while also addressing the public's call for fairness and equity in national duty. This balance is crucial for maintaining both social cohesion and political stability in Israel.
Rabbi Pfeffer suggested that those not engaged in full-time Torah study should consider military service. How significant is this proposal within the community?
It's quite a pivotal suggestion, as it targets the segment of the ultra-Orthodox community that isn't deeply entrenched in religious study. Encouraging these young men to serve could significantly increase the numbers of Haredi in the military, aligning more with the national expectations and potentially easing some tensions.
The Supreme Court ruling increased the draft numbers slightly. What impact might this have?
The directive to draft an additional 3,000 is a moderate step but symbolically important. It signals a shift towards greater inclusion and may set a precedent for gradually increasing ultra-Orthodox participation in the military over the coming years.
With the rising tensions and some protests turning violent, how is this likely to affect the broader societal fabric?
The violence is concerning and reflects deep-seated fears and resistance among parts of the ultra-Orthodox community. However, it also underscores the urgency of finding a resolution that respects their lifestyle while addressing the broader societal demand for equity in military service.
Looking ahead, what strategies might the Israeli military employ to smooth the transition for these new conscripts?
Building trust is paramount. This could involve expanding units like Netze Yehuda, offering more religious accommodations, and ensuring that the conscripts' religious needs are met. Such strategies will be crucial in making military service more acceptable to the ultra-Orthodox.
And finally, as public pressure mounts and the geopolitical landscape shifts, what are the stakes for Israel?
The stakes are indeed high. Balancing the internal social dynamics with national security needs is critical, especially as Israel navigates potential conflicts. How it manages this issue could influence its social cohesion and its capacity to present a united front in the face of external threats. Thanks for tuning into Hot Topic in Fresh News today. We delved into the complexities of military conscription in Israel, particularly the challenges and changes affecting the ultra-Orthodox community. It's been enlightening discussing these developments with you all. Remember to subscribe and activate notifications so you never miss a beat. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please feel free to comment and share this episode across your social networks.
And hey, make sure you're here for our next sessions. You never know what interesting tidbit will pop up next. We're here daily, bringing you the freshest perspectives on the most pressing news. So, keep us on your radar and maybe tell a friend or two about us, it'll be worth it.
We truly appreciate your time and engagement. Looking forward to our next encounter.
Until then, keep the conversations lively and the debates healthy.
Stay in the loop, keep your eyes on the news, our channel's content will amuse.